Hey everyone, Scott here from the fragrance channel Scott Aromatico. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. It really means the world to me that you took time out of your busy day, your busy schedule to talk fragrances with me. So let's just go ahead and do just that. As you can tell from the thumbnail, I am talking about the all-time, the great, the amazing Zoologist Perfumes. If you guys watch my channel, you know how much I think of them. You know how much I love them. You know what I think about them. They are one of my favorite fragrance houses in the world, probably top 3. I love them for so many reasons. And as you dive down the rabbit hole that is fragrances, to those of you who are new, welcome by the way. As you dive down the rabbit hole that are fragrances, you discover niche fragrances, and in particular, you discover indie niche fragrance houses like Zoologist Perfumes. And what makes them so great? Why are they so amazing, Scott Aromatico? Well, because they check off all the boxes for me as far as their attention to detail. And I know you guys, when you go into a business that you love and that's established, you care about that attention to detail. That's one thing. You care about customer service. That's another thing. And you also just care about the composition. They have world-renowned artists working for them, making these compositions, and they are amazing and they are award-winning. You don't have to take my word for it. You can find this information out for yourself. They have so many award-winning perfumes or compositions. That's why I love just a few reasons. Victor Wong, who runs the company, is absolutely amazing. And I think one of the other things is they appeal to the artist in me. I love to draw, so I really love the cartoons and the animation. I think that's my specialty. I've always been really good at drawing cartoons, and I really love the cartoon animals that they have invoking their fragrances. I love the story behind it. Today we're going to be talking about my sample that came in not too long ago. We're going to be talking about Sacred Scarab. Super excited to be talking about this composition. This was a fragrance that was done by master perfumer Sultan Pasha, and he doesn't disappoint. This is so amazing in every way. Spoiler alert, sorry, already giving away what I think about it, but it's so good. And I'll tell you, a year ago when I was on my fragrance journey, I probably wouldn't have liked a fragrance like this because it isn't mass appealing. It's not a panty dropper. It's not beast mode, whatever the case may be. But what I do know that this fragrance is artistic. It's mastery. It is craftsmanship. A true artisan like Mr. Pasha made this fragrance, and boy, he does not disappoint. Now, the fragrance is called Sacred Scarab, like I showed you just a minute ago. So here's the full bottle along with the box. All right, guys, all their fragrances are always beautiful. They're really well done. When you open up the box, you're always going to get a story. You're going to get the note breakdown. So they just do a really good job with the presentation. This one was inspired by Sultan Pasha's love for Egyptology. He loved all things Egypt when he was a child, and I can relate to that because ever since I was a little kid, I've always dreamed of traveling to faraway places, and Egypt is high on the list. When you see the Sphinx and you see the pyramids, and you know, just some of the movies. When I saw The Mummy for the first time with Brendan Fraser, I was enthralled by it because I just love the culture. I love, you know, just the hieroglyphics because the artist in me. I love how they were able to engineer those pyramids. So many things about that culture, and they're just amazing people because over the years I've had the opportunity to meet so many amazing people from Egypt. Now, one of the things I know that Victor Wong and Mr. Pasha were inspired by, of course, was the scarab, the sacred scarab coming from Egypt. But this wasn't just about the insect. This wasn't just about the scarab. It's also fusing the culture of Egypt along with the revered insect that comes from Egypt. And it is revered in so many different ways, and it parallels Egyptian culture, at least ancient Egyptian culture, and the fact that when you think about the pharaohs and the royalty being buried, how do you think of them? You think of them buried with all their possessions and all their treasures deep into those caverns of the pyramids in the ground, and kind of runs parallel with the sacred scarab. And guys, you can find all this information. There's an amazing write-up on the Zoologist website about this composition and the master perfumer Sultan Pasha. But anyways, when you do your research about these beetles, about these scarabs, what they like to do, and I know this is kind of weird, but just how insects are, they like to roll up their dung in a ball, and then they roll it, and they roll it a long ways until they find a place they want to burrow into the ground, and they go deep into the ground, and they leave that dung there, and in that dung is where they lay their eggs, and their larva hatches into another insect, and that insect follows that same pathway and just basically follows the circle of life and does the same thing. So that that dung is like a treasure to them, and they bury it deep into the earth, and then their offspring is reborn, and basically a reincarnation of them, and it's their afterlife. Okay, it's a really cool parallel, and I like that parallel. So finally, the last thing is I really thought it was cool when I was reading the notes, and this comes straight from Mr. Pasha himself. This is a fragrance that even Cleopatra would be pleased to wear, and I believe he's right. So let's go ahead and just dive right into it. Here is my sample. Guys, let me go ahead and put the notes on the screen real quick, and I'll tell you the note breakdown, and then we'll spray it, and I'll tell you what I think. All right, in the top, you have aldehydes. Aldehydes are basically to invoke sunlight and brightness. When I smell aldehydes in a fragrance, it always kind of reminds me of fresh, clean laundry. The aldehydes go really well. They go hand in hand with the lemon note that's in the top. The lemon and the aldehydes just give this a very bright feeling right away. Then you've got the musk of a civet. And of course, Zoologist does not use any real animalic ingredients at all. They're all synthetic, so there's no harm to any animals. I believe the civet, sometimes it can be the musk of a civet can be a little bit pungent, but it's also very nice to use with florals because it helps warm up the composition. And I'm not exactly sure if that's what they were going for, but it does warm up this composition, and I think that's to invoke the sun beating down on the dry desert in Egypt, and it does a really good job. In the mid or the heart of this composition, you have a wine accord, and you also have plum. Now, why plum? Plum was inspired because of the way the scarab looks. When you look at these beetles, you look at these insects, some of them can be purple in nature, and it just looks like a big, ripe, juicy plum. So that is why their choice of plum as a note in this fragrance. Okay, and they also use what's called a blue lotus accord. Now I'm just going to be honest with you. I've never smelled blue lotus accord. I probably couldn't pick it out of this lineup because I've never gotten my nose on it. I hope one day to smell true blue lotus accord, but I know it's a very expensive oil. It's very opulent. And blue lotus is also very revered in ancient Egyptian culture and probably still revered today in Egypt culture. Now, another cool thing about this being a plum note in this fragrance is that one of the pheromones that these scarabs release when they're trying to attract a mate can tend to be a little bit on the fruity side, and I think that's also where plum comes from as well. Now, the base is a completely kiffy base or a kiffi base. I'm not sure how to say that correctly. But basically, kiffi is basically an incense that the ancient Egyptians burned in the burial sites of their royalty and their dead, and it's just a very religious-like incense that they burn, when there's very serious and somber things going on in their culture. So kiffi is the base, and so there are a lot of ingredients to help invoke this. It was an arduous task for Mr. Pasha, but he really got the job done and came up with the right ingredients to help invoke kiffi. And so in the base we've got raisins, a labdanum, which a lot of times can be woody, spicy, or fruity. You've got myrrh, and that's going to give it that incense feeling, very smoky, somewhat bitter, and a little bit sweet as well. You've got galbanum, which is bitter and somewhat green. Of course, you've got cedar, you've got juniper, which could be very resinous, a wine note. Styrex, which is dry and balsamic. I understand the dry because of the desert. Benzoin can sometimes come off as vanillic. Oak moss gives it a bit of freshness. Labdanum can be leathery, and then you've got musk and amber, and we know what amber can kind of warm up a composition. Go ahead and spray this fragrance really quick. Don't need a lot of sprays or you're going to choke out everybody in the room. I can just tell you that right away. So a year ago, I wouldn't have liked this fragrance. But as I have gone down the rabbit hole and as I have gone on my fragrance journey, I can really appreciate the artistry and the mastery of this fragrance. I really, really like this one. Right away, the lemon and the aldehydes come off so fresh and so bright, and I really, really like that. But what overtakes this fragrance really quickly, you notice it right away, is the kiffi or the kiffy, and basically the myrrh dominates those ingredients because it really has this beautiful, almost religious experience, if you will. And I really, really love that incense mixed with the aldehydes. It's a great combination. You're definitely getting a bit of sweetness, but you're not going to be overpowered by sweetness. I'm definitely not picking up a lot of the sweetness from the benzoin. I'm picking up a bit of fruitiness, and that must be coming from the plum, although it doesn't smell like plum to me. It smells more like peach in a way. but it's definitely some sweetness there. So to me, the two main ingredients are the aldehydes mixed with that citrus, and then you pick up that incense coming from the Kifai. It's really, really a nice fragrance. There's one thing I pick up when I smell all zoologists. They have the same DNA in all their fragrances. I pretty much can recognize the zoologist fragrances because it's very animalic, very balsamic. They just have this thing about them that I really detect in all their fragrances. Kind of the same with Andy Towers. When I smell an Andy Tower fragrance, I pick up his DNA or his trademark or his mark in all his fragrances. Same with zoologists. There's something very animalic, something very balsamic about this fragrance as well that I pick up in a lot of their fragrances. So you definitely can tell it's a zoologist fragrance. Should you blind buy this? Absolutely not. You should not blind buy this fragrance. Is it for everybody? No. Test. Do what I did. Go to Zoologist. It was really easy. These samples are $8. I ordered it from Canada. It came to South Carolina in like a week. I think shipping was $5, so I paid like 12, 13 bucks, guys. It's well worth it to get your nose on these artistic fragrances. These are mastery, guys. They're so amazing. I love this house. This is not for everybody. This is not going to be a mass appealing fragrance. This is not going to be, in your top 10 compliment getters. But it is an amazing fragrance to be enjoyed by perfume lovers, and I think perfume lovers all over the world are going to love this. If you're just starting down your fragrance journey, I say order samples to make sure this is a fragrance you would want to blind buy and pay a lot of money for their fragrances, because they're pretty high, and deservedly so. They're great compositions. So when should you wear this fragrance? I feel like this fragrance is going to work best in the fall and winter, in my opinion. I don't feel like it's a fragrance I personally want to wear in the high heat. I feel like this is going to work best in the cooler weather, fall, winter, early spring. It is very strong. It can be a little bit pungent coming from a lot of the ingredients that is in this. It's very resinous. There's a lot of incense. There's a lot of woods coming up in the base as well. And, that freshness kind of dissipates very quickly. And you're really just left with that Kifai, that incense feeling. Of course, there's a bit of sweetness coming from the wine notes and the plum, and the citrus and whatnot. But, this is a very powerful fragrance. It's a religious experience is how I think of it, because of the myrrh, because of, just what it invokes with the amber and with the civet warming up the composition. So I really do think of the dry desert. It really does do a nice job of invoking Egyptian culture, in my opinion. I've never gotten my nose on Blue Lotus Accord. I would like to one day, so I can't really tell you if I'm picking that up in the composition. I don't want to lie about that. But all in all, this is mastery. This is going to win a lot of awards. I know it is. I can tell, because it's just such a well put together composition. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. Definitely worth a try. And another big hit from Zoologist. But what else is new, right, guys? Definitely give them a try. I love this fragrance. I think you will too. What are some of your favorite Zoologist fragrances? Let me know down in the comments below. They've really got some interesting ones like T-Rex and Rhinoceros, but they also have some really great ones like Seahorse and Squid and Chipmunk. So they've got some really good ones as well that are more for mass appealing crowd. So there you have it, guys. I'd love to know what are some of your favorite Zoologist fragrances in the comments down below. If you got any value whatsoever from the video, leave a thumbs up. Tell your friends and family about the video. And go ahead and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below. I'd love to have you part of the Scott Aromatic fragrance journey. It doesn't cost you anything. And then hit the bell notifications off to the side. Victor, you did it again. Sultan Pasha, well done. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. I hope wherever you are, you're finding peace and happiness. Scott Aromatico over and out. I'll see you guys next time.